Let me start this video off with some more somber news. For you see, if the archaic trait is printed in its current state, Wrestler will no longer be the bestler. And my subscribers would understand that joke, so if you didn't... But anyway, on to the actual topic. There are a lot of archetypes that could be good in Starfinder. Now, we don't know too much about what Starfinder will entail, but we do have the ability to make a few predictions. So I'm going to predict my top 5 or 6 archetypes that I think will definitely see play in Starfinder that have already been printed inside of Pathfinder. So with that, let's get started. First on the list is the Artillerist dedication. Now, you might not have heard of this one because it was just tucked inside of Guns and Gears and nobody really uses siege weapons in Pathfinder, but if you put a siege weapon on a spaceship, now we're talking. And we already have rules for big weapons, so I don't predict them to rewrite that wheel, because it would be cool to go back and then have something interact with Artillerist. And so, let's quickly read a couple standout feats for what this archetype does. So this one, just how you give all your allies a +2 bonus to load, aim, move, repair the weapon, whatever they need to do. If it requires a skill check, you're giving a bonus to it, just immediately at level 2. So, if in space combat, somebody needs to manage this slow-firing cannon, why don't you just get +2 on it from a single dedication feat? Alrighty, really strong, if it goes in that direction. It then gives you skill feats that do things like make that weapon more bulky, so that way if there are like cold shots in the ship combat, that can hit certain parts of your ship to disable them. Now your artillery, completely fine. Go hit somewhere else. And you have all these different things to just like make you much more efficient at using these siege weapons. So because of that, you can get a lot of value out of this archetype. So it even eventually lets you be permanently quickened to try and aim and launch your siege weapons. Like, if you're in a free archetype game, and your game will involve a lot of ship combat, I am predicting Artillerist to be one of the top tier picks. On a similar note, I'd assume Trick Driver is going to become very important, because, well, you're not going to know how to pilot every type of ship, but, well, Trick Driver says you don't need to know how, you can figure it out, by giving you automatically progressing driving lore, and then letting you use dexterity in order to control ships if you want to. So because of that, you can now have your scoundrelly dexterity character who doesn't have a whole lot of int, and they can still pilot the ship completely perfectly. So because of that, I think this will also be very highly picked if they are having piloting or sailing or any other type of vehicles that will interact with skill checks to be moved. And it also then gives you different things you can do with vehicles, but a lot of these are more of smaller scale ships than starships, and more about boarding things and whatever, so I'm not sure how applicable a lot of these will be to space combat. However, I do think there will be quite a few interesting feats, like Push It Here, which lets you get bonus to speeds on the ship by just doing it. You just have more speed on your ship because you just know how to drive it so well, and it's a skill feat. Like, I think that these archetypes are mostly for ship combat, or driving and other things that aren't normally in Adventuring Day, are suddenly become very useful, despite nobody having thought of them since Guns and Gears came out. And finishing up the trilogy, Vehicle Mechanic. So, with Vehicle Mechanic, it just makes you really good at repairing things. I assume this is going to be very relevant. Because, well, if your ship takes damage, how are you getting through the combat? Well, probably repairing it. So anything that would help you repair is probably going to be really strong. Gets you bonuses to repair your ships, lets you fix up several things at once, quickly patch job things back up, you know, all stuff that seems pretty standard and good. Like, I don't really have much to say here because we don't know that much about the ship rules, but my prediction is that vehicle mechanic will definitely be a top archetype. Now, on to things that require less speculation. We know that ranged weapons are very iconic to the Starfinder setting, so the archetypes that go very well with ranged weapons that do not specify type ranged weapons, such as Sniping Duo, are likely to also become very, very strong. And Sniping Duo has you pick a spotter, and then you can get bonus to damage when you're helping each other out, and it gives you a bunch of other supporty shooty feats. And I think this is probably one of the stronger archetypes to take as a ranged character, because it lets you get a bonus to damage on your ranged strikes, which you normally can't do. So, as such, I think this is going to be good because ranged weapons will be good, and if ranged weapons are good, things that make ranged weapons good are good. I don't really have that much more to say on it. However, I will point out that there is a great video on this thing by Deadly D8, which I'm going to link up above my head there. Go watch that after you're done here. Or instead, they probably have something better to say. I'd also bet on Bounty Hunter being pretty solid because of the types of stories that I'm expecting to be told. So, one of the common tropes of the more roguish style of sci-fi is we need you to hunt this person down dead or alive. Seems like a pretty standard quest opener, and this gives you a lot of tools that are useful for that. So, it lets you hunt prey, which also gives you a bonus to gather information. Really nice. You can then pass that gather information things down to your party. You can potentially make non-lethal attacks with weapons without non-lethal trait, thus letting you subdue anything non-lethally, and could be useful if your party doesn't want to murder everything in the galaxy. I know that's rare for various reasons, but it seems like this line here will be very useful, along with this gathering information up here, if you're in a type of game where you're either negotiating peace treaty type deals, or having to hunt down specific people. And so, because of that, I think that this archetype will be good, not because of any synergy, but again, because of the types of stories I'm predicting to be told. And now for the final one, Unexpected Sharpshooter. So, the entire gimmick of this archetype is, you don't really know how you're landing your shots, neither does anybody else, you're just obscenely lucky. And that absolutely sounds like a sci-fi trope. So, here we go. You just hit things more often because you're just that lucky, and you have a lot of very funny, silly little feats that play into that archetype. Like, the skill feat. That was a close one, huh? You laugh innocently about the inexplicable luck of your last shot hitting its marker, how close that attack just missed, causing your foes to second-guess whether it's a good idea to oppose you in battle. Tempted to demoralize either the foe you hit with accidental shot or the foe that missed you due to lucky escape. Use deception instead of intimidation. Like, it's just nice, you know? There's just a lot of little funny bits in this archetype, and I really, really like just its accidental shot, which effectively gives you a true strike once per day. That's pretty strong. So, if you are the type of character that wants to be making a strike, and you're going to be role-playing out a little bit more of a klutz, this is going to be a great pick, and it is mechanically pretty potent. But yeah, that's about all I have for you today. Short one, I just want to get something out because I have a lot of thoughts about what might be good in the Starfinder thing, so if you're interested in that, hit the thing.